to the German language distance learning program for beginners. This is a joint program conducted by the Indira Gandhi National Open University in collaboration with Max Müller Bhavan, the German Cultural Center in India. Herzlich willkommen zum Fernkurs Deutsch als Fremdsprache für Anfänger. Ein gemeinsames Programm zwischen der Indira Gandhi National Open University und dem Goethe-Institut Max Müller Bhavan, dem Deutschen Kulturzentrum in Indien.
You're listening to Radio D, the radio language course of Redaktion D. A joint project of the Goethe Institute and Deutsche Welle Radio. The author is Herat Mese.
A warm welcome to episode 5 of your German course, Radio D. You may remember the journalists Paula and Ayhan waiting for Philip in the current affairs office of Radio D. Philip's going to be working with Paula at the station, but he hasn't turned up yet. Imagine this waiting situation. Listen especially for two names. Which people are they connected with?
Sorry. Entschuldigung. Tut mir sehr leid.
Hallo Philipp, endlich. Also Philipp, das ist Ayhan.
Wie heißt du? Ayhan? Ayhan? Du kommst aus der Türkei?
Nein, ich bin aus Berlin.
Übrigens, ich bin Josephine. Josephine.
Guten Tag, Josephine.
Josephine, bitte nicht.
Well, what an auspicious first meeting that was. Philip crashing breathless into the office, excusing himself, of course, and the colleagues introducing themselves in a more or less friendly way, and Berlin and Turkey are mentioned. But first, Paula introduces Ayhan, saying, "That is Ayhan. Das ist Ayhan."
Also Philipp, das ist Ayhan.
When Philip, our well-travelled young journalist, hears the name Ayhan, he's sure it's a Turkish name. So he asks Ayhan whether he comes from Turkey.
Ayhan? Ayhan? Du kommst aus der Türkei?
Philip's put his foot in it. There are lots of people in Germany with non-German names, but they were born in Germany, and they're not exactly thrilled to be spoken to as if they were not from Germany. And that goes for Ayhan too. His parents came from Turkey, but he was born in Berlin.
Nein, ich bin aus Berlin.
Meanwhile, Josephine, who feels that not enough notice is being taken of her during this male dialogue, introduces herself somewhat peevishly, and then, making sure that she's going to be noticed, she turns to her work, cleaning.
Übrigens, ich bin Josephine. Josephine.
So, not what you'd call an easy atmosphere as Philip turns up at his new job for the first time. It's interrupted, dear listeners, by a character you haven't met yet.
Achtung, Recherche, Recherche. König Ludwig lebt. Mysteriös, sehr mysteriös.
Wer bist du denn?
Ich bin Kompu.
Kompu?
Ja, ich heiße Kompu und ich bin ein Kompu.
Things are getting a bit philosophical around here. Someone's got the same name as what he is. Kompu, as you're sure to have guessed, is a computer. It's been talking to Philip. Let's see if it'll talk to us. Hello, Kompu. Would you please tell our students of German what it is you do?
Recherchieren, recherchieren, recherchieren.
Well, that's a bit over the top. It can't do research on its own, of course. But what it does do is help the journalists with their research.
Ich bin Kompu. Ich bin bei Radio D.
Oh, now that's a bit more realistic. Kompu, Radio D's speaking computer, passes assignments to the journalists. Radio D is the radio division of Redaktion D. And when Redaktion D decides that there's something worth reporting on, it sends out 2 teams, one with a video camera to do a television piece, and Paula and Philip with sound recording equipment to do a radio report. You'll probably have understood Kompu saying something about investigating a very mysterious phenomenon. Kompu, could you repeat the assignment, please?
Achtung, Recherche, Recherche. König Ludwig lebt. Mysteriös, sehr mysteriös.
Well, it seems that someone's claiming that the former king of Bavaria, King Ludwig, is still alive. It's certain, though, that Ludwig II, whom they called the fairy tale king, has been dead since 1886, which is a pretty long time by anyone's reckoning. He was a very special king, though. He had visions and he built these fairy tale palaces. In the most famous one, Neuschwanstein, you may have seen pictures of it, Paula and Philip are investigating what's sure to be a nonsensical claim that King Ludwig is alive. But they do want to know what's behind it.
Hallo, liebe Hörerinnen und Hörer.
Willkommen.
Bei Radio D.
Radio D.
Die Reportage.
Have a listen to the first part of the report Paula and Philip have done for Radio D in Neuschwanstein Palace. It was an eerie encounter with an unknown being and a mysterious word. Imagine you're in a dark castle. Out of the sounds you hear, try and pick and understand the central word.
Paula, wo bist du?
Philipp, wo bist du? Philipp, was ist das?
Das weiß ich nicht.
Wasser. König Ludwig. Wasser.
König Ludwig? Wasser? Paula, wer ist das?
Wasser und König Ludwig.
Mysteriös. Sehr mysteriös.
The central word here is Wasser, water, and King Ludwig II had a lot to do with water.
Wasser. König Ludwig. Wasser.
The strange voice refers to water. It's a voice that has to belong to someone very wise because water plays a central part in the mysterious circumstances of Ludwig II's death. There's still speculation over exactly how he died. Paula and Philip have, of course, looked into that. And before you hear what they found, let's imagine the scene in the palace once again. It seems to be very dark there, so Philip and Paula can't see each other, and they call out to find out where they both are.
Paula, wo bist du?
Philipp, wo bist du?
They're pretty confused by the flapping of wings, by the voice, and by the words they're hearing.
Wasser. König Ludwig. Wasser.
König Ludwig? Wasser? Paula, wer ist das?
Wasser und König Ludwig.
Now Paula understands Kompu better. All of this really is very mysterious.
Mysteriös. Sehr mysteriös.
If there's something one doesn't know but would like to know, one can ask, of course. And our professor will now explain one way of doing that in German.
Und nun kommt unser Professor.
Radio D.
Gespräch über Sprache.
Hello again. Yes, of course, you can always ask. But are you always going to get a satisfactory answer?
Well, let's hear. When Philip and Paula hear a weird sound, Paula wants to know what it is. So she asks, "What is that?"
Was ist das?
One uses the interrogative or question word, what, was. Listen for it at the start of the question.
Was ist das?
Well, you're quite right, Professor. Philip can't answer satisfactorily because he doesn't know either what it is they're hearing.
Das weiß ich nicht.
Listen to that again. The question with the interrogative word what, was, and the answer which begins with that, das.
Philipp, was ist das?
Das weiß ich nicht.
If you're asking about a person, you use the interrogative word who, wer. That also starts the question.
Wer? Wer ist das?
And the answer begins with das ist.
Wer ist das?
Das ist Ayhan.
Great. Thanks for that, Professor. And listeners, here are those two scenes again for you. Philip arrives in Berlin late to start his new reporting job with Radio D.
Sorry. Entschuldigung. Tut mir sehr leid.
Hallo Philipp, endlich. Also Philipp, das ist Ayhan.
Wie heißt du? Ayhan? Ayhan? Du kommst aus der Türkei?
Nein, ich bin aus Berlin.
Übrigens, ich bin Josephine. Josephine.
Guten Tag, Josephine.
Josephine, bitte nicht.
Achtung, Recherche, Recherche. König Ludwig lebt. Mysteriös, sehr mysteriös.
Wer bist du denn?
Ich bin Kompu.
Kompu?
Ja, ich heiße Kompu und ich bin ein Kompu.
To check out what's behind the claim that a Bavarian king who died in 1886 is still alive, Philip and Paula have driven to Neuschwanstein Palace in Bavaria.
Paula, wo bist du?
Philipp, wo bist du? Philipp, was ist das?
Das weiß ich nicht.
Wasser. König Ludwig. Wasser.
König Ludwig? Wasser? Paula, wer ist das?
Wasser und König Ludwig.
Mysteriös. Sehr mysteriös.
In the next episode, Philip and Paula will try to get to the bottom of the mystery. But will they?
Bis zum nächsten Mal, liebe Hörerinnen und Hörer.
You've been listening to Radio D, a German course of the Goethe Institute and Deutsche Welle Radio.
Besten Dank, dass Sie unseren Deutschkurs für Anfänger eingeschaltet haben. Detaillierte Informationen über den Kurs bekommen Sie im Studienzentrum, Regionalzentrum und im Max-Müller-Bhavan. Thank you for tuning in to our German language program for beginners. Detailed information regarding this program is available at your study center, regional center and at the Max-Müller-Bhavan.